Next. Behind this reunion selfie lies an untold story of time, fame, loss, and the lasting legacy of Breaking Bad. There is something haunting about seeing a face split in two by time. One side still believes there is time left. The other already knows the cost. And maybe that is why Breaking Bad still feels so powerful. Because it is not just the story of Walter White. It is the story of a man standing next to the version of himself he can never return to. A teacher and a tyrant. A father and a ghost. A man with a diagnosis. And a man who became one. When you place the young version beside the older one, frame them in a single selfie, and let them look into the same lens, something changes. It no longer feels like television. It feels like confession. It feels like memory. It feels like time itself pausing just long enough to ask one unbearable question. When did survival become transformation? And when did transformation become ruin? That is the shadow Breaking Bad left on television. And that is why, more than a decade after its ending, it still stands not just as a hit series, but as one of the defining tragedies of modern screen storytelling. The series ran for 5 seasons and 62 episodes, premiering on January 20th, 2008 and ending on September 29th, 2013. What Vince Gilligan and his cast built was not merely a crime drama. It was a long, precise moral collapse. Not rushed. Not softened. Not redeemed by convenience. And the world noticed. Breaking Bad became one of the most decorated dramas of its era. It won 16 Primetime Emmy Awards, including Outstanding Drama Series in 2013 and 2014. Bryan Cranston won 4 Emmys for playing Walter White, Aaron Paul won 3 for Jesse Pinkman, and Anna Gunn won 2 for Skyler White. The show also earned a Peabody Award, and its final run was hailed by critics as one of television's great endings. Its reputation was not built on hype alone. It was built on numbers, yes, but more importantly, on endurance. In 2013, Guinness World Records recognized Breaking Bad as the highest-rated TV series of the time, tied to a Metacritic score of 99 out of 100 for its 5th season. Guinness also noted a 9.6 user score, which helped cement its record book status. Even now, it remains near the summit of major audience rankings, including IMDb's top TV list, where it still sits among the very highest-rated series ever. And yet numbers alone do not explain why it lasted. What lasted was the feeling. The image of Walter White in his underwear in the desert. The sound of Jesse saying a name like it meant pain. The quiet terror of Gus Fring adjusting his tie. The old-world silence of Mike Ehrmantraut. The unbearable domestic realism of Skyler White realizing, piece by piece, that the man in her home was no longer the man she married. This was a show about meth, yes. But that was never the true subject. The true subject was consequence. Every choice in Breaking Bad left residue. On the body. On the marriage. On the child. On the soul. Nothing vanished cleanly. Nothing stayed contained. And that is why it felt so real. When fans create reunion images, the younger actor and character beside the present-day performer, there is an added sadness to Breaking Bad that some other series do not carry. Because these characters were never simply cool. They were damaged. Sweaty. Afraid. Proud. Cornered. Ashamed. Desperate. The younger version is not innocence. The younger version is the first moment before the fall becomes visible. And the older version? The older version is what survives after the role, after the applause, after the cultural shockwave. It is the human being who carried that character into history. So what happened to them? Who is still acting? Who quietly stepped back? And who is no longer here? The truth is, Breaking Bad did not produce a cast that vanished. It produced a cast that scattered into different forms of longevity. Bryan Cranston is still fully active, continuing to work across film, television, and stage-adjacent prestige projects. Aaron Paul remains active as well, returning to the Breaking Bad universe in El Camino and continuing with screen work after that. Bob Odenkirk is still very much in motion, with projects including Nobody 2 and other recent work. Giancarlo Esposito continues to be one of the busiest and most recognizable character actors in major film and television. Dean Norris, Betsy Brandt, R.J. Mitt, and Anna Gunn have all continued acting too, though for some of them the pace has become more selective rather than constant. Jonathan Banks also continued working after Breaking Bad, especially through Better Call Saul, which deepened and expanded Mike Ehrmantraut into one of television's great late-career performances. And Jesse Plemons, who arrived later in the series as Todd, went on to build one of the most respected film careers of anyone connected to the show. Kristen Ritter, Laura Fraser, Stephen Michael Quezada, Charles Baker, and Matt Jones also remained present in screen work, even if not always in the white-hot spotlight of the show's original peak years. So who truly left the stage? If we are being honest, very few central Breaking Bad players disappeared in any dramatic sense. This is not one of those casts where half the ensemble walked away forever. A more accurate reading is this: some remained highly visible stars. Some became selective working actors. Some shifted toward producing, occasional appearances, or lower-volume careers. But the core ensemble largely stayed in the profession. The post-Breaking Bad story is less about disappearance and more about divergence. Different speeds, different scales, different kinds of visibility. And then there is the harder part. Because time does what time always does. Among the most beloved figures connected to the Breaking Bad world, some are no longer alive. Robert Forster, who played Ed Galbraith, the disappearer, died on October 11, 2019, the very day El Camino, a Breaking Bad movie, was released. Mark Margolis, unforgettable as Hector Salamanca, died in August 2023 at the age of 83. His performance was built on stillness, rage, and the sound of a single bell, and somehow that was enough to become iconic. Mike Batay, who played Dennis Markowski, the manager of Gus Fring's industrial laundromat, died in 2023 at the age of 52. And that changes the feeling of the reunion image again. Because once an actor has passed, the fantasy of the selfie becomes even more emotional. The younger version is trapped in the scene forever. The older version exists only in memory, archives, interviews, outtakes, and the way audiences still speak their name. That is when these images stop being clever. They become elegies. And maybe that is the most moving thing about revisiting Breaking Bad now. Not simply that it was brilliant, but that it now belongs to time in a different way. When it aired, it felt urgent. When it ended, it felt complete. Now looking back, it feels almost archaeological, not old in a weak sense, but preserved in a way that reveals how carefully it was made. Its pacing still holds. Its visual grammar still holds. Its dialogue still cuts. Its structure still teaches modern television how to escalate stakes without losing character. That is rare. Very rare. So then comes the question every great show eventually has to face. Has anything surpassed it? The honest answer is not a clean yes or no. If by surpassed you mean unanimous cultural consensus, then no, there is still no final verdict that permanently pushes Breaking Bad off the mountain. If by surpassed you mean some critics prefer other series, then yes, absolutely. Depending on the list, you will often see The Sopranos, The Wire, Mad Men, or newer prestige dramas placed above it. Rolling Stone's all-time ranking placed Breaking Bad at No. 3, behind The Sopranos and The Wire, while Variety also includes it among the greatest shows ever made rather than outside that inner circle. At the same time, IMDb users still rank Breaking Bad at or near the very top, and Guinness record recognition gave it a lasting aura of peak critical acclaim. So the fairest answer is this. Some shows may beat it on certain lists. Some viewers may love other series more deeply. Some critics may argue that The Sopranos changed television first, or that The Wire saw society more clearly, or that Mad Men was more literate in its design. But Breaking Bad remains one of the very few shows that can still enter any serious greatest of all time conversation without sounding nostalgic, defensive, or outdated. It does not need pity. It does not need rediscovery. It does not need rescue. It still stands. And perhaps the reason it still stands is because its core theme never ages. A man tells himself he is doing the wrong thing for the right reason. Then one day he realizes the wrong thing has become the only thing that makes him feel alive. That is not just crime drama. That is human self-deception. Walter White became iconic not because he was monstrous from the beginning, but because he was understandable at the beginning. That is what made The Fall terrifying. And Jesse Pinkman remains beloved not because he was pure, but because he never fully stopped feeling the damage. Skyler matters because she represents the cost of genius without morality. Hank matters because masculinity, pride, and justice all broke inside the same body. Gus matters because professionalism without mercy becomes its own horror. Mike matters because experience does not save a man from compromise. It just makes him quieter while he drowns. So if your video shows a younger version and an older version sharing one frame, then Breaking Bad fits that concept perfectly. Because this entire story is really about two selves. The self before power. And the self after it. The self that explains. And the self that finally admits. In the final chapter of Walter White, what mattered most was not the empire. It was the truth. The simple, devastating truth he gave Skyler at the end. He did it for himself. That confession is why the series endures. Not because it let him off the hook, but because it refused to lie about what he had become. And that may be the core value of Breaking Bad. The core value is radical honesty about consequence. Not optimism. Not heroism. Not revenge. Not style for its own sake. Consequence. The show says that talent without conscience is dangerous. Pride disguised as sacrifice is still pride. Love cannot survive unlimited deceit. And every decision we repeat long enough becomes identity. That is why the story still reaches people. Because beneath the meth labs and desert gunfire, it is really telling us something painfully familiar. You do not become someone else all at once. You become them choice by choice. So when viewers see those two versions in one selfie, the younger face in the original costume, and the older face carrying all the years since, they are not just looking at actors. They are looking at what time reveals. What ambition costs. What performance preserves. What memory forgives. And what it never does. Breaking Bad began with a man who thought he was running out of time. It ended as a story that time could not erase. And maybe that is the final achievement. Not just awards. Not just ratings. Not even legacy. But permanence. Because long after the desert dust settled, long after the blue meth became iconography, long after the final phone call and the final lab and the final bloodstain, the show remained. Still studied. Still quoted. Still feared. Still loved. Still alive. And perhaps that is why these reunion images hit so hard. The younger self is the role. The older self is the witness. And between them is everything that happened in the years the camera did not see. That space between the two versions. That is where all great television eventually lives. Not only in what it was, but in what time proves it to be. When you look at Breaking Bad today, do you see Walter White as a tragic man, a villain, or both? Which cast reunion would move you the most in a selfie with time image? Walt, Jesse, Skyler, Hank, Gus, or Mike, and why? Do you believe any television series has truly surpassed Breaking Bad, or does it still belong on the mountaintop for you?